Wrestlers on the lower of the card want to get that higher money because everybody wants to be earning more money, so they see this and they think, right, I need to get to that position, and they think, right, I'm as talented or more talented as that guy, but I need to get there, so they use steroids to help them get a physique. Another reason why people use steroids is that wrestling, unfortunately, to keep up a good physique, you need to be training on a regular basis. Because they're travelling on a regular basis, they haven't got one gym. They, like most people, let's say bodybuilders, strong men, that they'll have one gym, they train every day, and they have all day dedicated to training. Over wrestling, because they've got PR appearances, media stuff to do, and they go to a show, travel, sleep, they can't always get to a gym, so they use steroids as an aid for that. You can argue to cows come home whether steroids, right, wrong, should they be in wrestling or not in wrestling. That's for people to make that decision, but WWE are now starting to take a stance on it that if you get caught with drugs, then it's a 30-day ban. If it's second time, it's 60 days. Third time, your contract's ripped up with WWE. So they are trying to get steroids out of wrestling. They will never succeed because you can always, with steroids, there's always things to mask that you use in steroids, things you put in your body, and ways to cheat the system. Because if a wrestler knows there's going to be random drugs tests, and they're going to be asked to do this on a regular basis, they're not going to think, right, let's get off drugs. They're going to think, I need to stay on drugs to keep in the main event. I need to find a way of getting around this so I can stay on drugs without having to be banned for 30, 60 days. The only problem which I have with drugs is that now, in any sport, if anybody performs a Herculean effort, say if they're running 100 metres and they're 2 seconds faster than everybody else, or they've got the biggest muscles in the world, everybody won't say that's a brilliant feat, you've done really well there. They'll say, are you on drugs? And they'll immediately think, is that person on drugs? You can no longer, because the business isn't all sports as a whole aren't clean, you'll never know who's on drugs and who isn't anymore, and people that have got there legitimately will never get the full credit they deserve.
Recently I remember you talking about the Dynamite Kid.
Yes, the Dynamite Kid is a way to show you, if you want an example of stay off drugs and how drugs can ruin your life, read a book by the Dynamite Kid and do some research into his life. Real name Tom Billington. He's one of the few British wrestlers to make it into WWE. He unfortunately wasn't the biggest guy. He was 5 foot something in the world of people that were 7 foot, 300 pounds, and he was 200 pounds or thereabouts. So to get the physique, he popped a lot of pills. He used a wrestling style that was very hard hitting, very cardiovascular, match intensive. All of his matches were extreme physical feats. So to do that every night, he took drugs. And unfortunately, because of all the drugs they were on, it ruined his marriage. It's been alleged that he once held a gun to one of his wife's heads. He also, because of the drugs that he was on, worked for a lot of pain and didn't take the right surgery medication that he actually needed for his injuries. And after a wear down several years, he eventually ended up paralysed from the waist down. And he's now lost all his money, and he now lives in a council estate back in England with very few friends in the wrestling business. He has a very bitter view of the world, and he's a man that had everything, had thousands of people watching him, while the successful British people in American wrestling lost it all. And that's an example of how drugs have a negative effect on your life.
It's quite a sad story, isn't it? That's how it relates to life, though, isn't it?
Exactly. If you're going to take drugs in the wrestling business, you have to be aware of the negative side of them. Yes, there can be some so-called positives for a little while, but they will catch up with you and they will affect you in later life. It's not just your physical side that they mess you up mentally and can affect your relationships with family members, immediate close and friends. You can lose a lot of that in life. It's what you value more important. If you value wrestling more important, or your healthy well-being, your friends and family, that's the call that wrestlers have to make.
From like being partly wrestling behind the scenes and like viewing as well, who would you say worst wrestler? In your opinion?
Worst wrestler? From a wrestling skill standpoint or from an entertainment standpoint?
Skill.
Skill, oh crikey. There is a long list. From an actual wrestling skill point, I have to say Randy Savage. Now, he put on some great matches, but the reason why I pick him out of the crowd is that before every match, he had to plan it out move by move. In one of his greatest matches against Tito Santana, he got Tito Santana to his house for a week where he had a ring set up, and they worked through this match 20 times, move for move, before they got out there. And exactly, and the match was highly acclaimed by critics, but that's not wrestling skill. Wrestling skill is to be able to go out there and work against anybody without having any build-up, be able to go out in the ring without doing it beforehand and put on a 5-star match. That is what wrestling ability is. Anybody can do 500 moves, but it's being able to do them correctly and to engage the audience in it.
I think that's going to be the end of it.
Fantastic.
Any final words that you want to say?
Like I say, wrestling will continue to evolve. It's changed from media, from the carnival where it started to now the media hype. Wrestling, like many celebrities and tabloids, sensationalise things to get viewers, to get people interested in. They'll keep on doing that. That's not going to change. It's just going to be interesting to see where they finally cross the line in the end, how more sensational they can go with their shows. It'll be interesting also to see on the drug side of wrestling what's going to happen in the future. There's currently a lot of investigations going on which cross WWE and many other sports in America, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that affects wrestling. No doubt it will, if that changes the landscape, if we get less wrestlers dying and wrestlers that are put in positions on the card because of their talent and not because of their physique. It'll be interesting to see if the fans drop off, if they actually wanted to see wrestlers with big physiques. It'll be interesting to see over the next few years as drugs get fewer and fewer in wrestling, the physiques are going to go down, the looks and the appearance not get as many big guys. It's going to be interesting to see if that's what the fans actually wanted, to see if the fan numbers drop off, or as more talented wrestlers get pushed to the top, if that's what they actually wanted to see. So that's what I feel is going to be the interesting thing to watch for the next few years of wrestling.
Excellent.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. There guys. How long did I wrap it up for there?
Oh, 15 seconds under 1 hour.
Oh, crikey.